This is going to be a brief tutorial on Warrior Two, one of the foundational poses that you'll find frequently in a Vinyasa foot class. So unlike Warrior One, where your hips are square to the front of the mat, in this particular pose, they're going to be a bit off at a diagonal. Your front leg is externally rotated in the hip socket. Your back leg is neutral. So starting with the right foot forward and the left leg back. Your right toes should be pointed straight towards the front edge of the mat. Your knee should be stacked right over your ankle. If it's behind the ankle, that just means you can probably work the thigh a little bit more, bend the knee a little bit more deeply. What you want to avoid is having the knee in front of the ankle and putting undue pressure on the knee joint. Right, so try to drive the root of the thigh down. A good way of thinking about it is trying to get that right thigh as close to parallel to your mat as possible. Right, and then you're gonna press into that back heel. That foot is gonna be angled essentially towards the edge of the mat, right? So that the leg is neutral and you're not putting any unnecessary torque on the back knee either. Right, so your hips are driving down. Then you're gonna lengthen the spine, lift up out of your waist. So you don't have a sense of feeling like you're sitting and sinking in any joints, particularly that front hip. A good way of thinking about it is pulling the bony part of your hip, the hip point, away from the top of your right thigh. Right? And then your shoulders are stacked right over your hips, your arms extend. So for most of us, the amount of external rotation you have in that front leg is going to mean your hips are sort of pointing off the front left edge of your mat. If you over square too much towards the side of the mat, what happens is you run the risk of straining the inner thigh, the knee turning in, and again, there's that pressure on the front knee that we don't need. Right? So allow the hips to kind of face at the diagonal so the back leg is neutral and straight. Your front knee is tracking over the center of the foot, and then your shoulders stacked right over your hips and your arms extend. Watch shoulders creeping up into the ears. You want to pull the shoulder blades down the back, even as you lift the rib cage up out of the waist. Okay? There's a lot of transitions from one side to the other. Very often, you might frame the front foot, take a vinyasa, step back to downward facing dog. But simply, for our purposes today, you just straighten the front leg, turn the toes in, and then we can switch sides. So same thing, in this case, your left toes point towards what's probably the back edge of your mat. You're gonna slide that right heel back a little bit so those toes are angled, neutral leg. You're gonna then bend the front knee. Keep it going until the knee is stacked right over the ankle, right? Hips. There's a little hint of a twist as you square the shoulders towards the side of your mat. And then breathe, right? And think about the space along the spine. I know it sounds crazy because there's so many other things going on, but the power of the legs, the leg engagement is a sense of the hips drawing down to the earth. So you want to compensate against that lifting up out of that front hip, out of the waist, making space between each and every vertebra along the back. Good. And then to come out, straighten the leg. There you go.